join me. If you want to follow along, just reading the words I said or looking at my slides, this is the web address. It's got links for more information on a lot of the stuff that I am talking about. Just to get going here, basically, my name's Jessamine. I'm a public librarian in Central Vermont. I'm really good with computers. I can get digital content from anywhere using a combination of my library contacts, the technology that I love, and legitimate but also gray and dark websites. And this isn't like a brag, it's just a true thing about kind of the things I can do at my job. Being able to do stuff like this, tracking stuff down, figuring out how to get it to people is really one of the reasons I became a librarian. And I work in this library in a community that serves about 4,500 people with a library director who once told me with a totally straight face she would never own a smartphone because they are nothing but trouble. Do we use two-factor authentication on any of our library accounts? We do not. I help our community use technology with questions ranging from like, I got hacked, how do I deal with this? To, I really want to see this movie at home, but how do I figure out where it's streaming? Great website, Just Watch. I mostly help people who are not super tech literate. However, even people who aren't super tech literate understand that the difference between a digital book and a paper book is that you can make an exact copy of a digital book at almost no cost, or you should be able to. And so this leads to further questions like, why is there a waiting list for this ebook when you could just make an exact copy of it and let me read it? And why can't I take this ebook from my phone and put it on my laptop, which is where I would like to read it? Or the hardest question of all, you seem like some sort of technology wizard, so can you show me how to do this thing that I feel like I should be able to do, but I can't figure out? Because people who come into our library, they've seen the signs that we've been putting on our photocopiers for decades, and they have questions, and additionally, they have concerns. And so my reply is usually some variant of, this is a thing which is technically possible, but ethically disallowed. And then if somebody's really interested, and honestly, sometimes even if they're not, I'll go on and on about digital rights management and how we do want authors and publishers to be able to get paid, but the restrictions that publishers have chosen about how to do this specifically are not my personal favorite, but it's kind of an imperfect world, isn't it? And if they had some sort of print disability, maybe there were a couple more options that we could help them with, but if not, we're kind of stuck in a very unpleasant world of digital rights management hoop jumping, which I personally, speaking only for myself, resent. Because even though I strongly support the free culture movement in general, while also wanting authors and publishers to get paid, I also work for the government. I'm a public librarian, I'm employed by my town, and this is awkward in public libraries for a number of reasons. Because as much as I would like to be all, we should organize and to the barricades, but also here's how you can Google some terms that will help you figure out how to get this book onto your laptop or jailbroken Kindle or email it to your friend. You can use Calibre, you can Google Apprentice Alf, there's some other things you can do. If there is trouble, that trouble doesn't come down on me, Jessamine, who would be willing to take a risk because I think it's worth pushing these envelopes, but it comes down on my tiny town. My tiny town that has a budget of about $3.5 million, about 10% of which is, I think, a pretty good number, goes to our public library. We actually spend more money on our library than we do on our cops, which makes me very happy. And a town that, as much as they like me, wouldn't support me teaching people how to end run digital rights management in order to show people how to rip DVDs to their computer. You can use Handbrake and maybe VLC to watch those files, if it costs them thousands of dollars in legal fees. And I get it, right? While I look up to librarians like the Connecticut Four, who stood up to the USA Patriot Act's gag order, and organizations like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who I think pushed the envelope on digital rights in good ways, But realistically, because of the odd combination of technological obscurity, I mean, all these things are fairly esoteric if I'm talking to my just average neighbors here, and complex legal framework, well, it's not really illegal, but it's more of a copyright violation, and I don't really think mainstream America is totally ready for let's hack your Kindle, which you can do by jailbreaking and hotfixing, and then you can change the default screensaver, so it's cool, right? 6 years ago, I might have, in fact, I really did ask a lot, come on, who's gonna sue a librarian? And if you wanted to, play a movie at your library, but also include the name of that movie in the newspaper, and you didn't just have to say like a charming beach movie that prominently features a giant shark, and you couldn't because of licensing. But now the climate is different, right? Obviously, the current spate of legal issues are different cultural issues that we're dealing with. But if the last few years and the previous administration have taught us anything, it's that nuance may not actually matter to the people who want to sort of mix it up and cause trouble here. So when people come into my library and ask me if there's a way to access the content that they want, when they say, can I do this? There's actually a lot of different questions that they're asking me. Like, can I technologically? Will the library let me? Is this legal? Is this ethical? Do I personally, Jessamyn, know how to do it? And most importantly, could they, one of my patrons, understand how to do it? And so I try to give honest answers to a lot of these questions, trying to keep it within what I perceive to be the legal framework of what I am allowed to do in the library, but also that these people are my neighbors and they need help. And so I try to give honest answers, but sometimes that honest answer is no, which feels weird. And so for now, I continue to work all the angles, little vague in public, speaking out in semi-private in situations much like this, working with other people who are heading in my same direction. And if you've got something you need to track down, you know where to find me. And again, the web address with links to the stuff I'm talking about is there, and you can find me on Mastodon at that address at the bottom. Thank you.